And we are back to the third hour of the Drowned Bear Eastern Orcadian League Swimathon Grand Final, after those amazing announcements from our sponsors. You are here with myself, Swimothy Codsworth, and my partner in crime, Raymond Findle. How are we feeling today, Ray?
Ooh, yes, Swimothy. It's been a tense few moments with Barbara taking the lead through the super spheres and Daddy's little drowner not far behind. Both I love the Imperiad and Leviathan are foot to foot at this stage and a few stragglers behind.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, but we've had another couple of accidents out in the waters, haven't we?
Unfortunately so, friend. I'm a swimaway and Deep Cookie collided into each other and caused quite a mess. The drown bears practically exploded. Disgusting. The jockeys are in bad shape. Gilbert Finley just about lost all his bones in that one.
If only he had had some delicious Brimley's bone broth. Perhaps the whole incident could have been avoided. Thinking about it now sure gives me a hankering for a bowl of Brimleys.
Not sure this tragedy could have been avoided by soup, Swimothy.
Perhaps not. But it is looking tense out there, isn't it, Ray? Daddy's little drowner is making up for lost time and just swirling through those spheres. A tenacious effort. Really quite amazing. Speaking of making up for lost time, do you think I should get my daughter an official crabapple fishoid? I hear all the kids love crabapple fishoids. It can even help with their homework. And it's the perfect time, since Crabapple have a special promotion out now where if you buy their Crabapple Fishoid 13, they will throw in a can of punch cards absolutely free.
Well, Crabapple isn't sponsoring this event, so maybe we can get back to the race.
Yes. Ooh. Barbara has just cleared another supersphere. Her jockey, also named Barbara, is doing a phenomenal job. She's really electrocuting that thing. A dangerous proposition in any water.
No one asked her. She's just doing, and look who's not far behind. Leviathan is tailing Daddy's little drowner. How is this happening? A real nail-biter, this one.
Nail-biter indeed. Although you wouldn't want to be biting your nails after a manicure at Elijah's Nail Hole in the nail district of Grilliam's Moon. It's a bargain. Too good
Swims,
to be...
what are you doing? Is this a bit? Are you doing a bit? What's happening, man? Should we go to commercial?
I'm just so lonely, Ray.
We're gonna go to a break then. Wait! Something is happening! This is incredible! Leviathan is outpacing Daddy's little drowner. It is speeding up! It's almost... No! It's past Barbara! Ah, the glorious Leviathans have blessed this race. They have Swimothy. Leviathan is speeding up past the 7,000 supersphere. How is this happening? We are seeing history here! We are seeing a miracle!
This always happens. This always happens when I try to make friends.
Welcome to Mythtakes Happen, the world's finest world-building podcast. I'm Chris, a peerless Imagineer.
And I'm Aaron, a fantabulous wondermaker. Each season we create a new TTRPG setting and supplementary materials set in a fantastical world of our own making.
This is Season 2, where we talk about the watery star system of the Celestial Deep. Like, subscribe, and review the podcast, or join our Patreon for exclusive and wondrous rewards.
We are both recording this on the lands of the indigenous people of our great southern continent, and we acknowledge the traditional owners of these places.
And with that, let's get started. Well, I went to a friend's house and played Magic the Gathering with my Finn the Fangbearer deck. And very predictably, it was almost immediately bullied out of existence. Out of 5 games, I managed to win 1 game. But that 1 game was pretty great. It felt great to death touch and poison my opponents. I could have won. I feel like I could have actually won half of the games, were it not for Magic the Gathering Commander etiquette, which is to not focus your attacks on just one person and sort of spread them out. And, if someone is on 13 life and someone else is on 35 life, you're not going to be attacking the one on 13 life necessarily. I feel like there's wiggle room there, but if I had merely concentrated on one of my opponents at a time, I feel like I would have won more of these. That's the bad part about games, is that they are social and involve people.
Having only recently played maybe a total now, like a dozen games of Commander, and enjoyed myself, I was interested at just how different they are, because rather than simply the strategy of deck building and the tactics of whatever the you've got on your hands and what's on the table, you now have this added almost political dimension of humans that you've then got to, like, if you focus your attacks on one player, then you might make yourself an enemy in the next game.
Well, absolutely. And a commander being a casual format, and it's always been a casual format. There are commander tournaments, but it's very casual. It cannot, by definition, be as balanced as standard, because you have access to so many more cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but humans, why are they like that?
I kind of like them in some ways like that.
In some ways.
Damning with faint praise, huh?
What's your favorite human trait?
Creativity and/or kindness. I'll depending on the.
Mine's revenge.
Ah,
I like that one. You don't see many animals engaging in it.
No, I'm not sure if it's an exclusively human trait, but it's certainly primarily ours, isn't it?
I feel like chimpanzees would have revenge. Chimpanzees and gorillas, probably. Yeah.
And we know corvids can hold a grudge, which is similar to revenge.
Yeah. Hey, you know the saying, God does not play dice with the universe?
Yes, I'm aware of it.
What game do you think God does play with the universe?
Definitely some sort of TTRPG.
It's not
it's
Magic
far
the
too wacky.
Gathering for sure.
No.
Because that's too cool.
No, it's too wacky to not be a TTRPG.
Oh no, it's GURPS, isn't it?
It probably is.
Oh
GURPS,
god damn it, it's GURPS with all the expansions, all your 75 books,
and 1,000 different traits that you can only get up to 17 points or something. That's the reason why they call it generic universal role playing system. Maybe it's actually God's universal role playing system.
Yeah, we got it wrong the entire time. The name, the acronym came first before Kids falling over. How do you feel about it? Do you chuckle every time a kid falls over?
No.
Why?
I mean,
I do.
On occasion, if there's no permanent harm and there's a sort of weird circumstance, I might. Generally speaking, I am merely mildly concerned. And then because I am a middle-aged male with a long beard, I then have that little weird balance of somebody else is probably going to go help that child, because if I go over and help a strange child, then certain assumptions are made, and I don't want to put that in anybody's head.
That looks like you're helping yourself to a child.
Yeah, basically, and it is slightly dreadful. Should we maybe do a podcast?
God, Mythtakes Happen, the official podcast of the heterosexual man and heterosexual fun.
No. I think we're allowing everybody to have fun. In fact, insisting on it.
They can have fun.
Close.
They can have fun incidentally, as we're having fun, as we're having hard, straight fun.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into it. Let's get into our podcast. Let's get into the first part of our podcast that has a name.
It does. It is Ready, Setting, Go.
It's Ready, Setting, Go.
Ready, Setting, Go.
What did we do last episode, which was episode 5? I believe, was that the one where I went on a whole thing about the different eras?
You did, yes. And you had a very specific naming convention for them.
Oh, yeah, they all started with a D.
And then you had a different synonym for era and age and epoch.
Except that there's two ages. So we have the dark era, the dirt age, the deep epoch, the depredation times, and the dialectic age, which is another age.
Well, you do run out of synonyms eventually.
You run out of synonyms. And thesaurus.com.
Hey, I love thesaurus.com.
My favorite website. It just runs out, and that's
honestly, in terms of sheer number of repetitive hits over my life, I think thesaurus.com might be at the top of the list. If not, it's certainly in the top 5.
You talked about celosography.
Well, I mentioned it in a title and then allude to it throughout the section without ever mentioning celosography again. He actually contacted me, I think, a week later when he was doing the putting it together. They're like, "Hey, did you know you didn't use the word celosography again?" I was like, No, I didn't until now. Now I feel like a fool.
Well, this is a living document, and it's it's living, it's alive.
Yeah.
And you also introduced the Orden.
I did. I had a lot of fun with the Orden. We've got another supernatural-esque paranormal type of human, and tying that in with the data ballads of the Leviathans. I was very happy with those.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that entire episode was really good. Unlike this episode that we're about to have.
Which is going to be absolute rubbish.
Absolute shit. If you're listening to this now, dear listener.
This is as good as it's going to get. It goes downhill from here.
Absolutely. Yeah. I tried to do a funny one today, but I don't know if it's going to come off.
What was the other thing that you did? The Voices in the Dark.
Oh, Voices in the Dark about, yes, Petronella Smoft, who could commune with the far outlier stations.
Yeah, and that's right. And we decided that she was going to be an Orden of.
That's right.
Of some descriptions. We had that lovely moment of synchronicity going on with our creations, which I adore quite so much.
I love it when that happens. I love it when a plan comes together, when it's not a plan. It's just some random stuff that comes together.
I think it's the real joy of doing cooperative storytelling, what we do, what you do at a table, in that, suddenly ideas sort of just mesh together. It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. Okay, so before we actually get into the episode, I want to have a bit of a chat with you about this setting that we're making. Just in general, I mean, it's episode 6 now. So we are fully halfway through this season, which is pretty good. To me, it feels different than when we were halfway through Haliacon. When we were halfway through Haliacon, that's last season, everybody, you should go and listen to that. I feel like I had a much clearer picture of the world and the things that are in it than I do in this particular season. I think partly that's because we chose the very easy path of high fantasy and that is more relatable in visually, I think.
No, I completely agree that we were standing on a building from a very solid and well-known foundation. We just essentially said, if it's a D&D race, then it's in our settings, so we have some idea what it looks like. And then we're able to just sort of tweak the expectations. Whereas you're right, this one, yes, the aesthetics, the what is life like is a bit more, and I hesitate to use this word, but it is appropriate, fluid.
Fluid, yes, because of the water. Shape of water.
It depends on the container it's in.
By the way, I was on Phillip Island the other day, which is an island
owned by Philip.
Owned by Philip, I believe. And I bought in a secondhand shop for $1 The Shape of Water, which I haven't seen still, although I talk about it a lot. And I'm going to watch it. And then I'm going to talk about it on this podcast.
I look forward to the conversation. It's been a while since I've watched it, but it stuck with me. It was an impressive film, cinematography, acting.
I hope that I see some fish dick as my number one hope. If I don't, it would be very upsetting.
There is direct reference to it, but you don't ever actually see it.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
It is a scene that does, in fact, stick with you because it's very human and very funny.
I will have to utilize the theater of the mind.
Well, that's what we're all about here.
That's what we're all about. Yeah. So
you're right.
setting.
It is a little bit strange. The addition of the masks changed things dramatically for me. I still think the part where I did the vessel descriptions helped.
Oh, the vessel descriptions were really good. Yeah.
And that's a bit of Outlaw Star in setting, I think.
Well, I think if the Celestial Deep was an anime, it would be like an old anime.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. No, for sure. Hopefully with less of the hang-ups from some of the old anime, but
no.
You involved? Maybe not so much. Yeah, okay.
No. I like them. I think the hang-ups are what make anime.
Okay.
Also, loads of fan service. Loads. When someone takes off that perfectly molded mask to reveal their sexy face underneath. And it's not a person, it's a fish. It's wet.
Or an ant.
Yep. Could be
an antfish. Anyway, should we roll on to doing some fable fodder? I think we've had enough of a
fable fodder.
Fable fodder.
It's time for fable fodder. Who goes first? I don't remember. My next part is going to be an in-character one, by the way. So
I'm so excited. I don't have any in-character ones today. I tried writing one of the pieces as in-character, but I wasn't able to get the information I wanted to out. So
fair enough.
I do, however, have something somewhat shameful to admit.
Oh no, it's about philosophy.
It's not. See, I'm doing a piece on currency in the Celestial Deep, and there was
currency.
Well, see, now there's the thing. It's obvious that there is a pun title in there somewhere, right? Currency and currency. But for the fucking life of me, I utterly failed. I don't have one, and I'm sorry. I promise to do better.
That's great. Wait, are you doing a bit on currency now?
I am. Right now, I'm going to do it.
Okay, so you never did a bit on currency in Heliacon, arguably the easier one to do, because it's all golds and coppers, probably.
Well,
platinums,
or at least they need a story around them, so they're interesting. Because I am a little bit of a numismatic, which is also potentially something I should be ashamed of. Shout out to all the numismatics. All right, this section is entitled, shamefully, "The Nuts and Bolts of Currencies."
That's not funny.
No. While every planetoid has had its own currency, and many still do, in the modern era, the most commonly accepted currency is an evolution of the coins of the Imperiad. While many still feel very poorly about the Imperiad, the sheer utility and ubiquity of their trade system has kept it in place. These were the coins that the Strom and their inheritors have used to trade with, and there are small communities practically in the bitter dark that know and use these coins, despite never having heard of Mantarum. Before there was any hint of an Imperiad, the people of Mantarum were exploring the deep for the first time in wooden vessels, squabbling between cavern states, and building the machinery and industry that would propel them to greatness. Trade that wasn't direct barter at this stage was primarily facilitated by precious metals. Bars of silver and gold with uniform weight hammered into thin, flat strips became the standard, generally just by acclamation, though their size and value meant that they were only used for large and expensive transactions. But as the machines of a new age grew ever more complex and common, it was that more prosaic metals were desired. Lead was used as a quick repair for leaks in the early vessels. It could be softened or melted over an engine and poured into a crack to seal it long enough to get back to a dock. Sailors carried small blobs of this lead, calling them plugs, given the nature of sailors everywhere, use them to gamble with. It is believed that it is from these humble games of chance that the practice of using lead plugs, and then later iron and steel nuts and bolts, became sort of normal and accepted as a form of currency. And soon these commonly needed items had become a de facto currency for those not wealthy enough to engage in the economies of gold and silver. As the Mantarum Imperiad came together through blood and war, one of the tools it used to bind the formerly disparate peoples together was a revolutionary standardized currency made up of 5 coins. The thumbnail-sized round plug is worth the least, and though hasn't been made of lead since the earliest days of the Imperiad. Steel screws are worth 6 plugs, and have 6 even sides and a circular hole in the center. Bolts are worth 6 screws and solid steel hexagons twice as thick as a screw. The golden Imperiad coin was originally a ring in a deliberate echo of the flat strips of precious metal that had come before, but this was more difficult to manufacture and number and frequently damaged. This led to the, controversial at the time, Ring Return Act and the issuing of a coin version. The coin version of the Golden Imperiad is a slim, gold-coloured band around a steel centre and has been called a golden rad, or just a rad, around this time. Honestly, likely before, but the evidence has since been lost. How many bolts could be exchanged for a rad fluctuated dramatically until the height of the Imperiad, and under the influence of the Strom trading fleet, it was regularised to being exchanged for 60 bolts. This necessitated the highly useful and long-desired 5 and 10 bolt coins. The final and most valuable denomination is the Golden Promise, a palm-sized coin, and, even today, still mostly made from actual gold. The unwieldy name is generally shortened to GP, as the coinage friend and leviathans other than Never a Broken Promise were depicted on them. They have sometimes come to be called Golden Leviathans, although the GP nickname is still used even in those places. A GP can be exchanged for 360 rads, but anyone wealthy enough to use them is likely doing so via letters of credit with a bank and keeping the valuable physical coins in their vault. While in the early days of the system, it was the strict value of the metals used that defined their value. Over time, as they became coins and began to be representative of the actual materials kept in state vaults, But ever since the height of the Imperiad, and all the way through to today, the value of the coins are attached to stores of slurbrine. As mentioned earlier, most societies that are involved in inter-deep trade use the Imperiad monetary system, minting their own versions of the coins with the same weights and shapes, but their own designs and linked to the same amount of slurbrine. Even those cultures that use their own systems usually define their own denominations in relation to the Imperiad coins. The chitinous Galavian red piece is understood to be exchanged for 5 bolts, while a tooth token from Arago is worth half a rad. A plug might buy you a small 3-day-old bread roll or a fruit that's just started to go mouldy. A few plugs might get you a seat at a small travelling puppet show or a cheap lolly. With just one screw, you might get a bit of street food or a turn at a festival game. A handful of screws will get you a cheap meal, rent a spot in a shared room to hang up your hammock, or a replacement mug or tin plate. A bolt will rent a bed in a barrack-style room, buy a bottle of decent liquor, or purchase a simple tool like a hammer. A handful of screws will get you a meal that'll see you happily full and likely include a mug of beer, or your own private small room to yourself for a night, or a very basic weapon. And that is the basics of the currencies.
That's really good. I honestly can imagine a lot of it, but I don't feel like I will have anything to contribute to this one. I like it though. Like, I'm always interested in, like, when RPGs have they talk about the currency or the different forms of how you can make payments, things like that. I know some of the old D&D books have like the different coins in them and stuff like that. That's always fun.
Yes.
Platinum, Electrum, yeah, or this kind of stuff. Yeah, no, I mean, this is important stuff, especially when you're making like a list of things you can purchase and stuff like that in a game. How many bits and screws will this thing cost? How many whatevers? Yeah.
And it's part of that sort of, you and I like to explore the culture side, not just the pure gaming setting side, because it gives more than just color to the world. When I was designing this currency, I've now added also a little bit to history, because that's how society works. It's made up of all these lots of little bits and pieces.
It's how it works. Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't intend to write that the Imperiad helped to weld its various, cultures together across the planetoid, but midway through it just seemed logical.
No, I think it's really great. And like this idea of using some of that currency to like patch up your ships.
Well, not anymore, because
not anymore. Yeah.
That's where it started. Because
I mean, it's great. Like it's vivid.
And we still have GP.
And we still have GP. Fantastic. I like it.
I'd like to hear what you've got for me.
I hope this doesn't take too long, but so this is a bit that I wrote that does not have many specifics in it, that I want you specifically to contribute to. This is something that I think might be interesting. If you can't, or if you don't want to, that's okay as well. But I wrote it in a way which, this is an in-character one. I wrote it in a way which I think shows you the shape of something, but does not necessarily give you all of the facts about it.
This is Aaron bait, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
All right, let's hear it. I'm so excited.
This section is called Fishoids and Vatties. I won't waste time with pleasantries or introductions. You all paid good money to be here, and for that I am thankful. Welcome to my COD talk, the Fishoid Truth. Where to begin? There are things the historians won't tell you. Not secrets, obviously. There is no such thing as a secret in the modern age. But facts which have been agreed upon to be cast aside or forgotten. I guess that's why they call them historicants, not historicans. No one? Well, I thought it was rather funny. In any case, it is a truth universally acknowledged that in the age of depredation, many societies turned to unconventional means to resist the aggression of Mentarum and its allied states. In reality, the conflicts which culminated in the World's End War were a labyrinth of shifting loyalties, endless betrayals, and the histories remember the strange bedfellows who came together at unlikely times. Though dimly, and with very flowery language so as not to offend modern sensibilities. We have all heard of the early, mid, and late Vat Warrior conflicts, haven't we? Of course we have. They are taught in every school across the Corwood Pact, forming a core curriculum of the 738 required acts of kindness to appease that great Leviathan never again, falling from a great height in winter, who, by the way, is nowhere to be found now that the luminous void is dimming, and to stave off its terrible but ill-defined judgment. But the details are vague, aren't they? Who made them? Where did they go? We are taught that the Vat Warriors were a great crime, to create life in such a way beyond the scope of mortal minds, that to force sentience and sapience into such a manufactured package was an atrocity, never again to darken the worlds bathed in the light of the void. But what if I told you that that same crime is committed in the modern age daily, Oh, I see some head shaking. Do not worry, I will explain. How many of you good folk own a Fishoid? Oh, a sea of hands. Yes, quite a few of you. Some, I would wager, could not imagine a life without the processing power and companionship of a humble Fishoid. Their manufacturers are household names: Crabapple, Fantasticon, Salmon X, Ordinicious, the Venerable House of Linus, and many more. Ma'am, is your Fishoid running Minnow 13.5 or an Android system? Oh, you don't know? Oh, I'm more of an Android enjoyer myself, more customizability. But it doesn't matter. What matters is the simple fact that the Vat Warriors, or Vatties as they were once called, are kin to the Fishoids. They are brothers, sisters. They are, my dear people, one and the same. Ah, a shock to some of you. Not all of you, though. We have some folk well versed in the ancient texts and sub-forum discussions on the radio nets. To those who are baffled, or even angry at my statement, let me explain. How were the Vat Warriors created? Oh, this is not a tale the Surge Sayers will tell you. It isn't one the High Empyreans want you to ask about either. But not because they created the Vat Warriors. No. Mantarum had the might of the Simentarians after all. It was the Outer Treaty Worlds which, in their great desperation, stole the hereditary scrolls of the Leviathan itself. You know, those twisted ladders which reside beneath all our skins and define our very natures. Yes, you have heard the ants are not a natural people, that their past is defined with heavy gene manipulation, but the same is true here. The Vat Warriors were just such creations. It was their use, in fact, which brought the wrath of the great Leviathans to the Corwood worlds in the first place. The Outer Treaty, long before it had become the Outer Treaty, engineered the Vat Warriors to match the strength of Mantarum and its great allies. But where do the Fishoids come in? After all, the Vat Warriors were put to rest on the graveyard world of Dossek at the inception of the Dialectic Age. I see a security team moving through the crowd. Do not panic, good people. They are here for me. I have said things which are not allowed to be said. I've spoken some harsh truths. So before they get to me, let me tell you. The Fishoids are created by the very same means that Vat Warriors were. They're not just meat and bone processors of biological punch cards, as we are told. They have souls. They have minds far beyond... Get your hands off me! They are Leviathans in miniature. Your homes are not safe. They are listening to you. Do not touch me. See that chap over there? What does he want from me? Gentlemen, this is the Corwood Pact Manifest. What's the charge here? Speaking the truth? Speaking the truth? A succulent, undeniable truth? Get off! Get your hands off my penis! I see you know your wet boxing well. That's a nice headlock. And you, sir, are you waiting to receive my limp penis? How dare you! Ta-ta! Farewell!
A marvellous honouring of an Australian hero there.
Yeah.
Well, at least an Australian icon.
Absolute icon who died recently.
Yes, that's why I said you've honoured his legacy well, I think.
Yeah, he would be baffled by the entire thing. But he was a criminal.
But like so many Australian icons.
Hey, what is it about Australian icons? Anyway.
But okay, that was amazing, my friend. That was truly, truly amazing. Extraordinarily well performed and most intriguing ideas.
I just had this idea because we mentioned Fishoids in one of our intros. Oh, it was the Star Wars intro. Fishoids. And I thought I would never think about them again. But then I started thinking about them. And I was like, yeah, I want droids who are fish in this setting.
Still use punch cards. And
they still use punch cards. How do they work? I don't know.
It's most interesting, and there's the idea of a warrior race, presumably of Vatties.
Vatties, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to let that stew a bit below the surface to
Let it
hopefully bubble up sometime during between this and War of the Worlds.
World War World.
Okay, very cool, very very cool, man.
Thank you.
All right. Well, speaking of things that we brought up earlier and haven't touched on again, right from our intro, the very first intro, I mentioned the stateship Norimor Flows.
Oh yes. Oh, that's so long ago.
It is,
yeah.
And it's actually
okay. I love that.
I've had chunks on Norimor Flows basically ever since that day, and every time we've come around, I've got bits written, and it's just never enough to properly come out. I was actually going to put it in last week, but spacing wasn't right, and I didn't like I'd left some stuff out. So again, similar to what you've said about the Fishoids, is I've alluded to a number of things about stateships in general. Would very much love your input, and there's one section that I also wrote as Chris Bait, so I'm so
okay,
we're just basing together today.
I love that.
All right, let me tell you about the Norimor Flows, one of the 3 oldest stateships that began to practice and parentship to 6 other stateships. More than any other, the Norimor Flows is no more. Okay. That sentence did not scan. Now I've read it aloud. Let me try that again.
I like it. I think it's brave.
To write incomprehensively? Leave this in. One of the 3 older stateships that began the practice, and it is also parentship to 6 other stateships, which is more than any other, the Norimor Flows is sadly no more. Its freebooter people are free no more. Not that the people of Corif have captured or mistreated them in any way. No, it's simply how people who have travelled the celestial deep for thousands of years feel when stuck in a planetoid. Not even crewing a deep vessel truly rids them of that feeling, as they must always return to dock eventually. The Norimor Flows were the very first stateship that the Mantarum Imperiad even encountered, in an incident recorded, even by Imperiad historians, as the humiliation of the Second Fleet. The many official reports and diaries of officers and crewfolk are preserved and capture the moment of wonder and confusion as the fleet first saw the stateship. The Mantarum thought the flagship of the Second Fleet, the Mast Promise, was the largest vessel ever constructed, but it was dwarfed by the Norimor Flows, which was 12 to 15 times bigger. While the Mast Promise was a huge blunt arrowhead knifing through the deep, the Norimor Flows was a massive 11-pointed star around a familiar tube, atop which a clear blister through which could be just discerned a small forest. Communication between them broke down swiftly. The Mantarum didn't even try to understand any of the dozen languages the freebooters attempted, and the threat to the Flag Admiral Buckland were understood by the people of the stateship in tone, if not in word. Wanting to capture the monstrous vessel, Flag Admiral Buckland didn't deploy any large torpedoes. She felt confident that it would surrender when the fleet showed its military supremacy. That seemed reasonable to the officers of the fleet at first, as the fighter vessels of the stateship were many, but armed in relatively primitive ways. Fully half of them were just cutters, practically incapable of any major harm to the capital ships of the Second Fleet. The Mantarum did not account for the skill, ferocity, and determination of the Norimori pilots. In fighter duels, the Norimori defeated the elite of the Imperiad time and time again. With their fighter screens thinned or eliminated, the capital vessels began to take more and more small wounds that would eventually lead to their disablement, if not destruction. Buckland worried that the vast vessel might escape her by engaging its slow brine ignition drive, and had every hydrophone and organ listening for the telltale sounds of one powering up, but fruitlessly. Concluding that it must not have one, and that the losses endured already threatened her standing within the cutthroat world of Mantarum politics, she ordered the torpedoes fired at the tips of the fins that made up Norimor Flow's star shape. This changed the tenor of the fight dramatically, and cemented the legendary determination of the freebooters forever. Norimori fighters drove their vessels into the path of the weapons, sacrificing themselves for their stateship, giving the Norimor Flows time to escape. From vents all across the stateship, a viscous, bright blue liquid was expelled swiftly, obscuring the vessel. Buckland dared not fire further salvos, as she still needed her prize ship to offset the loss of prestige she had already suffered. Perhaps this is why she moved the masked promise to the edge of the cloud, demonstrating her own determination, or maybe simply to glimpse the target. It was a fatal mistake. This blue liquid was petrichor, undiscovered by the Imperium at this time, and its properties entirely unknown. The Norimor freebooters activated their own mysterious engine, and the rough sphere of water coloured by the petrichor vanished in an instant, creating a vacuum current that drew all the vessels of the Second Fleet towards it in a violent lurch. The masked promise was pulled in entirely and shattered by the Titanic forces. To this day, schoolchildren around the core worlds learn about Admiral Succulent. The Norimor Flows, nor any of its children's stateships, ever directly traded with the Imperium. Freebooters remember. Always. They have practice. Though they are very literate as a people, frequently in multiple languages, they keep much of their history alive by telling the stories to one another, vastly preferring tales of the past to pure fiction, though it must be said that there must be no small measure of fiction even in their histories. Perhaps this is why, though there are many correlations between the older stories of the first three stateships, there are just as many discrepancies. We can be fairly sure that long ago the freebooters had a grand home, and that it was threatened. The threat was great enough that they had to leave, but slow enough that they had time to build a trio of enormous vessels. The Oran's Call, the Okemo Arisen, and the Norimor Flows. But the nature of that threat varies from teller to teller. Sadly, the truth about the death of the Norimor Flows is well known. The only mercy is that so many of the Norimori were able to be saved and found refuge in Corif. The Norimori have a long history and friendship with the people of Corif, having a broadly similar culture that prizes demonstrations of determination, skill, and courage, eschewing masks, but practicing extensive tattooing and valuing personal freedom foremost. The introduction of freebooter science and technology has been radically changing Corif. Much focus has been on the use of petrichor as a fuel source, though to date the Corivine vessels are still using SIDs to traverse the deep. It is unwise, however, to overlook the effects of the freebooter materials technology, their extensive botanical science, and the even more vast navigational knowledge we'll have.
Yes, very good. So hey, so how are you picturing this? How are you picturing this working? Because the stuff comes out of the vents, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That came out of the vents.
Yes.
And then it's activated.
Yes.
Right. And just like disappears and creates like a funnel, like
essentially a vacuum that the deep rushes in, and then wherever it reappears, there's this big wave outward. As all this sort of water and petrichor and everything that expels.
That's so cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love that. No, that's awesome, man.
Given that it requires like a lot of petrichor, they wouldn't do that very often. But they travel in a way that does not use the
the thalassurge.
The thalassurge, that's it. Yes.
They don't use the thalassurge,
and they don't wear masks. They tattoo instead. My next section is going to be on just a small section on their tattoos and identity and so forth. But yes, I left what the actual origin of the freebooter stateship's enemy was, and I just said everybody knows what happened to the Norimor Flows, but I haven't decided what that is. I thought you might. But you don't have to.
No, I just got bored.
Yeah.
They decommissioned it. This is not interesting.
Nah. I think, have you done this for a couple of thousand years? Yeah, it's getting old.
Yeah, let's change our culture. It's boring.
What have you got for me, my friend?
I have a section that does not have a fun or punny name. It's just called slavery.
Probably best not to take too much fun out of that.
Yeah. I try to make it really fun. This is the fun type of slavery. Look, something I mentioned, I think a couple episodes ago, was that there's a lot of slavery going on in the Celestial Deep in general. So I thought I might write a little bit about slavery. So this part is not funny, and is not cool. And it is the official position of this podcast that slavery is bad.
Agreed.
Historically and in the modern age.
Yes.
And also, in the Celestial Deep, it is also bad, even though it is a fantasy setting.
Also agreed.
Cool. Let's talk about slavery. Finally, 6 episodes into this season, we finally got into something controversial.
Oh yeah, this is the first time.
This is the first time. They say it is innovation which drives the great engines of industry in the modern age. They say it is the unbreakable human spirit, forever in pursuit of divine perfection, which defines this era and elevates all the worlds of the celestial deep, even at this precarious time in history. The modern deep is an egalitarian and cosmopolitan society, deeply interconnected, so much so that many claim a fundamental tenet of this community is respect. And maybe they are right, if you forget about all the slaves. Humanity in the Celestial Deep has never really outgrown its reliance on slaves, and though efforts have been made to rebrand and sanitize the practice for the general public, for it is well known that people today are weak-willed and limp-wristed compared to the adamantine titans of yesteryear, those great generations who did not require participation trophies, all that has been achieved in this arena is a reinforcement of the systems of bondage. Likewise, there is great inconsistency as to how individual cultures feel about the practice of slavery, except that most condone it in some fashion. On Mantarum, slaves are almost always sourced from prison populations. Slavery under the High Periods is a highly regulated industry with a myriad laws, some ancient, others modern, protecting the rights of slaves as well as articulating just how far they can be exploited. Indeed, it has often been a point of pride to the Mantarum ruling classes that their slaves are the best treated in the Celestial Deep, and that their terms of indenture are some of the shortest and most lenient, a cold comfort to the men, women, and children who temporarily have their rights as human beings suspended as punishment for a crime. The very same things that happened to slaves everywhere happened to them, though in the High Period social order, these acts are well documented and filed away, perhaps as a way of saying everything has been written down, everything is by the book, and everything is fine, except, of course, when it isn't. On Orcada Prime, slave is an unenviable hereditary position from which the only real escape is death. Slaves are divided into three distinct castes, Indek, Gendek, and Impek, according to their general use to society. The Indek form the most numerous of the castes and are generally low-skilled workers able to be hired by some of the poorest individuals and businesses. The Gendek are skilled labourers who apprentice under equally skilled freemen. They are on the whole better treated than the Indek, and some have slaves of their own. The Impek are slaves exclusive to the presidential and corporate classes of Orcadian society, only those whose work is directly related to either running the government or making it money. Impek slaves often act as honoured diplomats and high-ranking bureaucrats. They are allowed a certain degree of autonomy by their owners, though none are able to start families of their own freely. Of the three slave castes, the Impek bloodlines are tightly controlled for perceived purity by the Bureau of Exalted Servants. On Galave, slavery is practiced based on the belief that certain Piscine traits are more desirable than others. Indeed, children born with no gills or deep aspects deemed useless to society, such as non-functioning fins or impractical protrusions, are gladly given up to the junk stables, where they are conditioned for their new life as slaves. Approximately 20% of the population of any large city of Galave is comprised of these slaves, and although efforts have been made by activists to ease the lives of these people, instituting laws and regulations relating to their treatment, it has also been remarked that modern-day Galave simply could not function without this unfortunate underclass. Attitudes towards slaves and slavery tend to be more varied in the outer treaty worlds. Some worlds make do with very few slaves, or none at all, although it is arguable whether artificially low wages and the threat of homelessness is really any different. Several societies have transitioned to more automated systems, utilizing fishoids or cogwork technology to fill in industrial gaps. Nevertheless, slaves are the invisible gears which turn the wheels of industry, and it is solely on their backs that the modern world has been built.
That was suitably horrific, yes. And
slaves.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that, we're talking. Perhaps this is something to discuss later in our final section. But I guess my thinking was that we are making an end time setting,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we have defined. There's a lot of aspects, I think, to modern celestial deep society that make it, it's really interconnected. It's really, the different cultures are quite cool with each other.
Yeah.
Right. There doesn't seem to be too much in the way of racism and things like that. And anyway, we haven't discussed it anyway, we might. I just thought, what's a slightly darker aspect of this society? What's an underbelly to this that makes this a little less palatable? So I thought slavery, slavery. Slaves are bad.
The unfortunate truth is there are still those who are enslaved in the really real world right now, and so much of our modern era, if not all of history, has been, as you say, on the backs of slaves. So yes, it's something that that should be addressed, and I think it does make sense in this setting. I don't disagree. Yeah, we don't really. I think the closest we've come to racism are the Galavians, who look down on everyone else.
Oh, that's right. Yes, those ones. Yeah,
and we don't have sexism. At least, sort of, we haven't sort of discussed any. We've got plenty of male and female leaders. Yeah, you're right. I think a truly nasty thing. Besides which, we've got player characters, and who doesn't love like a ex-slave freed themselves story? Because
I think that's a great idea. And the other thing I was thinking about, obviously, as I always think about, is Star Wars. Tons of slaves in Star Wars.
Yep,
so many slaves.
Yeah, the reason why Star Wars is great is that
it's slaves.
No, because it doesn't shy away from all the darkness inherent in human and non-human society.
Make Star Wars great again. Add more slaves.
Okay, I've got one more bit. That's right. I've got one more bit on freebooter tattoos.
Let's do it.
So, freebooter tattoos and identity. Two things make freebooters easy to identify in every port: their lack of a mask and the extensive bright blue tattoos across their entire bodies. Their tattoo on the hairline or scalp declare their stateship of origin, and their facial tattoos hint at their chosen name. Virtually every freebooter has several other tattoos across their body by the time they reach adulthood, representing events, people, or ideas they wish to memorialize, though some are purely ornamental without any severe cultural pushback. The line work for freebooter tattoos are inked with a refined petrichor, and it is a common belief among them that this gives the images power. Normal coloured inks are often used to fill those images, though this is not universal and some stateships frown upon the practice. While the notion the tattoos could have any power beyond demonstrating artistic skill and the fortitude of the canvas is widely considered mere superstition amongst the modern educated people, the recent exposure of the Norimori to daily life among the planet-bound has begun to suggest otherwise. The Norimori freebooters seem capable of occasional bursts of strength, speed, precision, and fortitude that border on, but are not quite, superhuman. It's well known that ants are much stronger than humans of a similar size, but the tales of freebooters matching that power for a time now seem more plausible. Perhaps it is simply a combination of a very fit people with belief and adrenaline, but petrichor is an uncanny substance that is still almost entirely a mystery to people outside the stateships. The Norimori have been sharing much with the Corravine people, but they've only begun to reveal the secrets of petrichor.
I liked it a lot.
Another way of separating them, and another little hint at something cool and special.
It is cool and special. Okay, we've done it, I think. So now it's time for us to go away, to just leave.
Oh right, yes, yeah. We're just going, just
leaving for.
I think I'm going to put
World War
I'm going to put a bindle over my shoulder. Do you know what a bindle is?
What's a bindle? I know Bindi Irwin.
Yeah, similar, but actually no, not similar in any way, shape, or form. You know, like the traditional image of like a hobo with a stick with a little bag on the end of it, and they sort of walk around. It's on the tarot full card. Well, that little stick in a bag is called a bindle.
A bindle, okay. Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go off with my bindle.
Okay, yeah, go off, Queen.
No, full, like the tarot.
Go off, fool.
Yeah. Bye. World War Words. Bye.
World War Words.
World War Words.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, and from World War Words into World War Words. No,
from Fable Fodder
into World War Words. You start. You begin. I think, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's only fair.
So, as I I meant to do more on Fishoids and a little bit on slavery, but in the end, I just spent way too long writing a huge chunk on Vat Warriors because they were really neat and I had some cool ideas. So, let me tell you too much about the Vat Warriors. The discovery of the hereditary scrolls of humanity that lay in the blood shed so often against the Mantarum should have rocked the entire deep, But mired in war that it was just one ripple amongst many. The efforts that led to the breakthrough are shrouded in once deliberate wartime obfuscation, which has long since become impenetrable through the passage of time, though the recent efforts of a fugitive researcher have proven that the great leap of understanding was preceded by the return of an expedition from the bitter dark. Even the notion of creating new life was a mad one, let alone the notion of stealing the hereditary scrolls of Leviathan and combining them. But war makes madmen of the sane and heroes of the insane. Their early efforts were abject failures, collections of cancerous cells that warred with each other until death. The scrolls were simply too disparate to merge. A solution was found by finding something that could act as a bridge between them, something close enough to humanity and Leviathan both. The humble cephalopod. The first Vat Warriors were small, sickly, and mad things, but the Vat Masters worked together across multiple planetoids to perfect their creations. Grown in tanks filled with adulterated and refined slur brine, each attempt was expensive, and the multi-world project was nearly ended several times. After all, they needed a warrior that would be worth all the effort, time, and slur brine, and it seemed clear they would have to be nigh invulnerable to ensure the cost was well spent. But the Vat Warriors were never going to be that tough. Their mutant hybrid physiology simply didn't allow it. They were creatures that needed air and full immersion in water from time to time, but were not truly at home in either. Short, slender, with soft bones and softer skin, they did not appear to be frightening warriors, but they were clever. Natural climbers and escapologists with an uncanny ability to alter their skin color to camouflage themselves for a time. Only the radio transponders and the bombs that their flesh had grown around allowed their creators to track and control them. They would have made for excellent saboteurs and assassins already, but it was the Leviathan in them and their connection to the Thalasurge that made them truly feared. Vat Warriors, with a supply of slur brine in their second stomach, are able to transport themselves through it. Even when in the dry, many a ship had its SID drive destroyed and their slur brine drained by the escaping Vat Warrior. Several Imperiads, both high and low, died at the damp, rubbery hands of a Vati assassin. That the Vat Warrior, now having expended its slur brine and finding itself trapped, would soon follow, was cold comfort. Part of the treaty was a moratorium on the creation of any more Vat Warriors, the destruction of the technology that made them, and the exile of the remainder upon the grey world of Dosek. Without slur brine, of course. The worlds of the Colwood Pact had observers at every stage of this process, their leaders fearing the Vat Warriors especially. Still, the efforts were demonstrably incomplete, as the creation of Fishoids is a terribly similar process for their creation, escaping condemnation out of sheer utility and well-praised bribes. Further, stories of short, pale, hairless people that disappear on a whim are still told across the entire celestial deep.
Okay, that's great. No, that's perfect. Oh, I love that. That's not how I imagined them at all. So this is really, really good.
Did you have like giant hulking monstrosities in mind?
I don't really even know what I had in mind. I guess manufactured clone warriors or something. Yeah, this is much better.
Because in your mad rant, you talk about sort of having had Leviathan genes in them, and I was like, what would that mean? What would that give you? And I mean, my first thought was, makes them big. Leviathans are big, right? But then I thought, yeah, slur brine and
yeah, this is much better. No, I like this, and I feel like again, gaming scope.
Do you want to play a Vat Warrior covering themselves up and
yeah, like hiding in the modern age, like it would be your very existence would be a crime.
But
yes,
given that but of course you can camouflage yourself, but of course you got to do it naked. Which is, yeah,
hell yeah. No, that's good, man.
All right, love that. Cool. What did you work on?
Well, I've got two parts. But my first part, it's just a couple sentences related to your coins. So Among the truly impoverished and even the slave classes, there exists a fractional currency composed almost entirely of bolts and screws. The physical coins are often broken down into 10 roughly equal parts, making each of them a bit. Therefore, bit plugs and screw bits form the core of the unofficial Bitcoin currency.
I will push back on one little thing. They are 6-sided, and by the large, the denominations do have a
Oh yeah,
base
that's 6-sided. Oh god
thing.
damn it!
So can we just change that to
6
to being broken down into bits of 6?
Yes, you're right.
Otherwise, I am reluctantly and rolling my eyes fine with your Bitcoin currency, which is, of course, only for the least and lowest class of people.
That's right. Yeah. And I call one of them bit plugs, which I think is funny. It sounds like
God, I
butt
didn't even
plugs.
see it. I didn't even. But yep, cool, excellent. What else? I mean, I know that was the bulk of the half an hour.
No, that was it. That was mostly. No, look. So I was quite inspired by your Norimor Flows. Everything about it is just so good. I love the history here. I love the unnamed sort of disaster that they escaped from. All of this stuff, and of course the crisp bait of Norimor Flows. The truth about the death of the Norimor Flows is well known. And then you don't mention it, so that is up to me.
Yep.
And I took that bait. So let's have a look at that. By the time it came apart, Norimor Flows had already been infested by competing colonies of ants for over a century. Indeed, they had initially been invited in. Long ago, the great mobile hive of septenary agalex was on its last legs, devastated by a plague which managed to reduce its population by over 95%. The intelligent ants of that hive sought to invade Norimor Flows and set up a small nation-state within its bowels. When their attack failed, the remaining ants expected to be dispatched immediately, but instead were offered asylum in exchange for their scientific knowledge. The ants, after deliberating, agreed. Though there were few scienticians left in their cohort, they signed a treaty with the Norimori and were given a section of the ship to do with as they pleased within limits. For almost 3 decades, the Norimor Flows benefited from this arrangement. For although the minds of the ants are alien to human ones, enough bridges had been built to facilitate a sufficient degree of mutual communication. The ants, too, seemed to like this setup. It allowed them to travel relatively freely through areas they otherwise would not be welcomed in, and this human culture did not expect much of them. 50 years in, things had begun to change. An ant, of course, is not one singular being. It is a cog in the machine of its hive, and its tools are other lesser ants. Inviting the ants of septenary agalex into the Norimor Flows practically meant allowing close to 30 separate ant species into the stateship. And much like human societies, ant ones evolve and fracture. By the end, the initial colony had split into 3 ideologically opposed factions, each successfully claiming a different part of the ship. In the last sad years aboard the Norimor Flows, life for the Norimori was intolerable. They found their life support systems hijacked for ant comfort, the air choked with revolting pheromones. Though the ants of the initial colony were aligned with human interests, the other 2 offshoots were uninterested in this relationship. One, the octonary plexum, wanted to eradicate the humans from the stateship and claim it as a brand new hive. The other, calling themselves the miasmic triads, felt that humans would serve much better if pressed into symbiotic service like lesser ants. The entire situation came to a head by the late revelation that a rare species of parasitic ant, the alarming antagonist ant, had successfully breached the petrichor coils of the ship and was slowly encasing them in its foul ichor. Before the fatal cascading system implosion, which crushed the Norimor Flows in a terrible instant, the remaining human population of the stateship made the heartbreaking decision to abandon their home and seek refuge on Karif. None of the ants, as far as anyone knows, survived the disaster.
And I'm almost glad of it. I love it. That's perfect. And I'm a little heartbroken.
Yeah. The society that you described, I think, shows like I think a fairly open one, a fairly their hearts and minds are open to new ideas and new people, and they are they are explorers and they are travelers, and I feel like in a situation that they were presented with a failed invasion, instead of committing genocide, they were like, how can we live together? And
In a mutually
unfortunately,
beneficial relationship. And it worked for a time.
it worked for a time. Yeah. And yeah, so like my full vision of that whole thing is, I guess, like over time, over the decades, like more and more of these like sub ant species as well, sort of getting into everything. You can't control every single offshoot, right? And yeah,
And
things like
you
that.
get these, and in my mind, I can immediately imagine that those other two, like the anti-human-ish,
Anti.
factions were like, well, what are we ants becoming now? We're like they take a somewhat subservient attitude, and they're. I like the idea that their like speciesism and their own sort of hatred and not thinking of other people leads to their own destruction. Unfortunately, it also just leads to the destruction of the Norimor Flows and making them homeless, which is so very sad.
I would also assume that as the humans were escaping, the ants probably did not pay it much heed. They were like, "This is not relevant. If anything, this makes things better for us."
That's so fantastic. Ship for ants now. Now it's just a fight between ant colony 1 and ant colony 2 and ant colony 3.
Yeah,
I wonder, because there's just part of me that loves the idea of playing or having an ant that is like the remainder of that first colony, the one that received
asylum.
Yeah. And just because it's, and honestly, I think I will push back that there maybe even.
I mean, what I wrote specifically was none of the ants, as far as anyone knows, survived the disaster, leaving, fully intending to leave the possibility that perhaps, I don't know, maybe one was smuggled out, or a couple, or who knows?
Because in my head, I have this fun little idea that the most of the Norimori kind of fucking hate ants. Like they open their hearts and their home to their enemies, which eventually led to the destruction of their millennia-old home. Not the first stateship to be destroyed, I'm sure, but certainly the most heartbreaking for the Norimori. But perhaps the leaders or a sub-faction or whatever have helped a number of those first colony of ants, even as they've been accepted into coral reef. So there's kind of this nesting dolls idea of like refugees and forgiveness.
I like that.
It'll
make for a good story.
But yeah, no, I really like that. That's perfect. I legitimately gave no thought to what it could be because I wanted to leave it in your hands, and I
had a couple ideas, but then I went, ants. I like ants.
I like it, and it deepens our understanding of the freebooter culture. That it is, as I hinted at through its multi sort of linguisticness and so forth, that it is a tremendously open one that's wants to absorb other cultures and ideas.
Yeah, I like these guys a lot. I would like to be friends with them.
Yeah,
but they still have 2 remaining stateships.
And there's all these
more the offshoots, right?
Yes, they're the children stateships, and I wonder there may even be like modern stateships now that people know that it's a possibility that perhaps other people that have a different tradition. Anyway, it's. In some ways, they're a little, and I'm only thinking this now as you're describing this, that they're a little bit like Mandalorians if Mandalorians weren't like cultural purists.
Yes. They're like a nice version of Mandalorians.
Yeah. A slightly more open version, yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, I think now it's time for some myth information.
Oh, we've done it, haven't we? My God. Okay, myth information.
Myth information.
Do you want to go first with myth information?
Yes, I would. I'd be delighted. And now, I as I mentioned at the end of Fable Fodder, there is one of the items in here that you're going to think, did he write that after I mentioned scrolls and bits and pieces? I didn't. All right. Truth or lie? First option. Though drinking slur brine is always fatal, some believe there is a method for refining it that makes it relatively safe to ingest and can prolong one's life. They are not wholly wrong. Number 2. Burial in the deep is common with the wrapped body propelled towards the luminous void. While most become food for the inhabitants of the deep, the wealthy often have themselves interned in more robust coffins. The inner ant Serenity has been gathering this genetic material for centuries now.
Mm-hmm.
And 3. The corpse planetoid Verbuto has many secrets. One is that new life is beginning to stir deep within an infant Leviathan.
These are all actually good.
Yeah, sorry, I had really good ideas. I genuinely struggle with myth information because I'm creating these little, these beautiful little, baby birds, and then I have to give 3 of them to you, and you crush 2 of them.
Yeah. Well, that's what. Sometimes I create 3 good ones, and sometimes I create only 1 good one and 2 shit ones, just for this occasion. Oh my god. Oh god. Well, remember that drinking slur brine causes what did we call it? The rapid evolutionary cascade effect.
Yeah,
that was myth information in the first one. That was the one you chose, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So that one.
I'm gonna forget it. I like all of them actually. Just okay. I'm going to say that the truth of it is the second one, the burial in the deep, that the inner ant sovereignty has been gathering these corpses, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Just gathering these corpses for reasons.
Reasons. We don't
just
know.
for reasons. Yeah, I like that.
They're probably fine reasons. Nothing to worry about.
They're probably okay. Oh man. Okay. Yeah. No. That's going to be because I feel like this one has the most scope for conflict and exploration of why. Whereas, I do like the infant Leviathan idea, but then in a game, I don't see myself wanting to explore that. So that's
totally
it.
That's
I like it as a
reason.
story element, as a story element, but as a PC, I'm thinking as a PC, I'm like, I'd probably want to kill this thing.
What is small enough to make it easy? All right, what have you got for me?
Okay, Aaron. Number 1, the Treaty of the Outer Treaty Worlds does not actually exist and is more of a way of describing the united front which stood against Mentarum in the last Great War. Number 2, the Great Leviathan, never mind that, I'm thirsty, is orbited by 74 minor Leviathans it describes in its data ballads as its children, and all acts of kindness it demands in exchange for its slur brine are actions to keep them safe. Number 3, the Cockmasters of the Cockatok Moons possess the fastest non-SID vessels in the deep, owing to their patented penetrado shape, making them sleek and hydrodynamic as they ram through the yielding waters between worlds.
No. Cool. You've made it real easy for me because I've already described in the section of the Vat Warriors that the treaty was a real thing and had stipulations about Vat Warriors, so it can't be that one. I really loathe your second idea. So we are absolutely going to have a Leviathan called Never Mind That I'm Thirsty, which I love. And it's 34 baby little Leviathans.
74.
74. That is.
Well, I was thinking about the moons of Jupiter and stuff. So.
Yeah, no, that was the first thing left in my head too, and I kind of love this idea. Yeah, so these lots of little Leviathans. Cool.
And each of them is unique. Each of them looks different, right?
Exactly right.
Yeah, the treaty thing. Obviously, I wrote before you wrote. That, and I didn't think to change it.
And I had no idea you were going to be mentioning ants' genetic materials and so forth when I wrote this information about the inner ant Serenity nicking corpses.
Yeah, there you go. And so you didn't go with the Cockmasters of the Cockatok Moons? My God, that's, you know what? I feel like that might be That might be the greatest missed opportunity.
I'm sorry you think so.
Hold on. I'm gonna put that in our document. Okay, cool. Okay. We
All
did
right.
it.
We did it.
We
All
bloody
right.
did it. And
We're
now it's time
to conclusion to jumps.
jumping to conclusions. Okay. Let's jump to conclusions.
Jumping to conclusions.
We did it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Good episode, man. Which is a terrible letdown because we agreed that this was going to be a shit one.
Yeah, we did say at the start that it was going to be a shit one, but we accidentally made a good one.
Oh,
I'm so sorry. Next episode, I'll do a riff off the Cockmasters.
And
it's going to be a really...
And I'll sing again.
Okay, good episode. So here are... well, I liked everything, obviously. I really... all your stuff about the nuts and bolts of currencies... the currencies. No, I still don't know. If only we had some kind of pun machine like ChatGPT. We could drain 6 lakes asking it to make a pun for us. That'll show those fish that live in there. But no, look, I think that was a necessary thing. I really like it. I didn't really have, like I said, I didn't really have too much to add to that, except for the Bitcoin industry. I really loved all the stuff about Norimor Flows. The Freebooter Society is one that I think is interesting. I feel like I don't know. I feel like it doesn't go into, you know how we take inspiration from real world cultures. I feel like I can see the real world cultures that this is inspired by, but at the same time, I think it's a unique enough thing in the setting that I think it works. I think it's one of those like familiar but not super familiar.
Yeah, I mean, and ideally that's what you want to aim for. It's the whenever I'm coming up with ideas for anything, but obviously for the podcast, I there's a scene from the film Fierce Creatures that I always come back to, where Kevin Kline's new owner of the zoo is putting advertisements on the sides of tortoises and things like that.
That's smart. Why are we not doing this?
And Jamie Lee Curtis is excoriating him for this like absolutely terrible shit. And he's going, "It's never been done before." And she says, "Try to think why." And it's
that's great.
And it's
really good.
It's useful to know, like, oh yes, I'm going to do counter whatever's normal, like do something completely original. I'm like, yeah, but then it's like, okay, maybe you come up with something truly great, but it's also potentially you just come up with something really stupid. It's never been done before for a good reason.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think the other thing is that we have such a rich tapestry of things to be inspired by in the real world,
by so many cultures, and all through history. Our thousands and thousands of years of history. There's so much to learn, and yeah, as you say, be inspired by.
Absolutely,
be a student of humanity, and you'll find new things to invent.
I enjoyed also your contribution to my particular thing.
For a start, I do have to reiterate, I really enjoyed your performance. We don't normally have like performance ratings in our Fable fodder, but holy hell, you do. Right, Matt, and a COD talk. Yeah, that's perfect. It is so bad. I love it. But yes, you're like mad Australian. For those of our international listeners who aren't aware, do look up I don't know, Australian man yelling about what was it,
a succulent Chinese meal.
Yeah, that's it. You will find
what's the charge? Enjoying a meal? A succulent Chinese meal?
You will enjoy the clip. It is a great deal of Australia distilled into like 90 seconds. It's pretty amazing. It's not the best of Australia, but it is still nevertheless a great deal of Australia.
It's not the best of Australia, but then I would argue Australia's not that great. So really, it's in the top 10.
Yeah, for sure.
In the top 10 things of Australia.
But yes, besides your amazing performance,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
The Vat Warriors are, I think, maybe this is going to be a little bit silly, but I love duality things and balancing. So we'd invented the Simentarians, the essentially like steampunk, diesel punk ish. We haven't really defined them too much, but
we
the
haven't
name
defined
says
them
a lot.
Maybe we should.
But
maybe we should. Yeah,
we probably should do that. But like Simentarian tells us a lot already. Something to do with mechanical soldiers. So the idea of genetically altered soldiers is the lovely duality, and I love that sort of balance in this plot and setting.
Yeah. No, me too.
And I love that. I had a lot of fun coming over, and we haven't done much in the way of cephalopods in our deep setting. 6 episodes in.
Yeah, we haven't at all.
And who doesn't love a good cephalopod? Even the word.
So what do they? Okay, so do they just look like cephalopods?
No. I was honestly, I was thinking like rubbery skin,
like rubbery.
Delac.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So yes, for those, yes, we have finally in this episode, right near the end, made another Warhammer 40k reference.
Finally.
If you look,
to be honest, I'm sick of not talking about Warhammer.
That's our other podcast that we haven't done yet. For those of you who are interested and don't know what they are, if you look up Necromunda, spelled like it sounds, and then Delaque, Delaque, you'll sort of see what I've got in mind.
You're welcome for the extra business, Games Workshop.
Don't give Games Workshop any more money. They although if you are, Necromunda is the way to go.
Necromunda's pretty cool. Yeah.
Rather, so you've got these like brutish, like physically potent Simentarians in some way, shape, or form, and these sneaky, sabotagey, teleporty Vat Warriors, Vatties,
yeah. Riddled with cancers.
Well, and the initial ones were not the modern ones, and there's a little, I don't know, there's a hint in there, given that the treaty is quite old by this point, at least by some time, although our timeline is just like it was in Heliacon, a bit fluid. Haha. Presumably they must have found some way to procreate if there's still more of them going around, or are they just really long lived? I kind of like the first idea, honestly.
I too like that idea. Yeah, Shape of Water.
Go watch your DVD.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it on DVD.
You have to watch it before we record the next episode. We can have a chat about it in the opening. That could be our
easy
opening chat.
Easy. Yeah. We'll do it. I think we've done it then. I think
so.
We've done this.
This is a big chunky episode, so yes, we should shut up and go away.
Brilliant. Thank you for listening. As always, please look for any relevant information in the episode description, as well as any trigger warnings. We should probably say that at the start, that there's trigger warnings in the thing, because if someone's already listened to the episode and then I talk about trigger warnings, what if they've already been triggered?
Yeah, you're right. Okay, we will do better. We'll do trigger warnings at the beginning.
Or maybe as a funny joke, we won't do better.
I mean, that matches most of my life. So
hooray!
Hurrah! We hope our listeners do better.
We hope our listeners do better. Do as we say, not as we do.
Exactly.
Brilliant. And please check out Aaron's website. He is a GM for hire in Adelaide. If you are in Adelaide, or if you are willing to kidnap him, take him, give him money to travel to your location, disclosed or otherwise, he will do it for enough money. He'll do anything, and I mean anything. Yeah. Money is very important in our society, and we're hoping to work this out. Actually, we're hoping to solve this problem in the next episode, capitalism, and how can we defeat it.